Hey people, so to explain this absolutely gorgeous look I have going on here, I pinned my hair as flat to my head as I possibly could, wrapped it in saran wrap up to my ears and the edge of my forehead, and put on a wig cap. I used a wig cap as opposed to a bald cap because Deadpool's mask is made of a cloth material, it looks like to me, and I wanted to keep that kind of texture. Next, I used Elmer's glue to glue down my eyebrows and as flat as I could, and then I put on foundation and setting powder on top. You're going to want that area to be as flat as possible for the line work you're going to have to do later. Here you're seeing me use liquid latex, and I put that all along the edges of the cap and the saran wrap, and then I covered that with foundation and then set it all with setting powder. I did this to try to create the illusion of one full mask and shield the lines of where my skin stopped and the material began. Here you see me taking a white makeup crayon, and I am mapping out all of the shapes and areas that I needed mapped out. I like to do this in the beginning because it gives me guidelines to follow, and it's very easy to correct any mistakes that you might make in the very beginning. You will constantly see me look to the left because I am referencing 1 to 3 pictures throughout this entire tutorial. Now I am applying Mehron's Paradise Paint in red to all of the areas of the mask that need to be red. You will see me alternate between a brush and a beauty blender for this color. The brush left brush strokes, which I don't like, so I would go back in once the paint was on and use the beauty blender to get rid of those brush strokes. I only went as far as the front of my head, face, neck, and chest. If you're going to go out in public with this Halloween look, I do recommend asking a buddy to paint the back of your head and your neck, or it may look pretty weird. Now you see me going in with a smaller brush, still using that red Paradise Paint. Once you get closer to the lines and the shapes that you don't want to fill in with that color, it's a lot easier to just use a smaller brush for that. Next you see me setting my eyelids because I will be putting on Maybelline Black Gel Eyeliner and setting it with a black eyeshadow, and I'll be using the one from Makeup Geek called Corrupt. I like to use that on the eyelids and under my lash line just because it'll stay a lot better than just paint with the oils on my face. And so that technique keeps it from creasing too bad. But for the rest of these areas, you're going to see me use the black color from the Mehron Paradise Paints and using a smaller brush to fill in the shapes where that color is needed. You will see me go back and fill in all of those blank lines with red. I later realized that the stitching was so small that it was going to be a lot easier to just paint those areas red and add the black on top, as opposed to drawing those black lines and then trying to fill in those very tiny lines with red after the fact. Here you're seeing me go back and forth with a small precision brush between the black and the red. I wanted to make the eye patches as symmetrical and identical as possible because if you look at his mask, they are identical. So just did that to the best of my ability. You did not see me put in my contact lens. I had never worn them before and didn't know what the visibility would be. The visibility was about 0. It was the equivalent of someone putting a white bed sheet over my eyes. So if I put in the other contact, I was not going to be able to do this look. However, contacts are extremely hard for me to put in and out, so I left it in there as to not mess up my makeup, but it did mess up my depth perception and added to the difficulty of doing this look. So I wish I hadn't done that, but live and learn. So here you see me taking a small eyeliner brush, and I am using Mehron's Paradise Paint in white. And I am adding white stitching and highlight and shadowing to all of the areas that are appropriate for it. It was very important to me for this look to look 3-dimensional. I didn't want it to just look flat. And in order to do that, you've got to highlight and shadow in all of the appropriate places where the light would be bouncing off of your face or not bouncing off of your face. So you will see me constantly go back and forth between highlighting and shadowing where I felt it was needed. I would first put on some of the white Paradise paint, as you see me doing here, and then I would take the white eyeshadow from Makeup Geek called Ice Queen and use that to buff out any harsh lines that didn't need to be a harsh line. And if it needed to be a little darker than white but not completely black, I would also go in with the gray eyeshadow from Makeup Forever. I will link the name down below because I don't remember it. Here you see me doing more of the shadow and highlighting. If you look at the pictures, the expression on his face, they do make it so that you see expressions in his eyes. So that skin underneath his eyes will crinkle just like all of ours would. And so highlighting and shadowing that underneath of his eyes will also add to your 3D look. Next, you're gonna see me start adding in more of the stitch work. There's a lot of stitch work, more than I realized when I started this look. And that's a lot of line work, and I suck at it. It was one of the hardest parts of this look for me, among other things, but to make those lines identical and straight, and then you're also super OCD about it looking identical and straight, can just turn into a nightmare. So that part was something that was hard, and I hadn't thought about it before, and I did that the best that I could. Here I am adding a shadow that he has to the right side of his face, and I'm using that same black eyeshadow from Makeup Geek called Corrupt in a combination with that Makeup Forever eyeshadow in the gray color. Just adding the shadows and adding dirt too. His mask is not completely pristine because Deadpool's out there like kicking ass, so his face is not going to remain clean. And that also kind of made things easier with texture and realisticness, I guess, of his face. Here you're seeing me add more of that red and black Paradise paint and doing more line work for the very top portion of his chest and shoulders and top arms of his suit. I added black where needed for his black shoulder pads or shoulder plates, I'm not sure what they are, and I added a strap and a buckle to represent what he had for holding the bag or the thing that he had on his back to carry his knives. And you'll just see me add black and red where needed and highlights and shadows as well, just like we did with the top. And then adding the line work for the breastplates for the muscles that Ryan Reynolds has that we all love and I don't.
And get some ass, got blades for days, got.
Can beauty come out of ashes?
All these bitches are prima donnas. I stuff my face with chimichangas, tacos and beers, always keeping it loose. Hang on for a minute while I'm dropping a deuce.